Hello, stitching friends. This is Sissy Smith of Gentle Pursuit Designs. It's been a long time since I did one of these YouTube videos, but I wanted to do it today. I want to introduce my newest reproduction. It is Emily Tufton, 1865. I have the antique and the model and the shadow sampler here that I'd like to show you. The booklets just came in yesterday. As I was getting ready to leave to pick up my granddaughters, we had a wonderful time. We went to see Barbie and then went to dinner at our favorite restaurant and came home and made ice cream sundaes and watched movies and had a lovely time until 3 a.m. when for some reason one of my crazy smoke detector alarms went off and blasted us all out of our beds. I wandered around trying to figure out why it happened. So if you see big bags under my eyes, I have a reason. Anyway, let me get along with it. I want to show you the booklet and the sampler. And also, Sherry Jones finished my Victorian sewing shoe class project. And I posted a picture of it. She sent it to me yesterday. And I've gotten so many questions about Victorian sewing shoes that I wanted to show the antique and my class project. So many of the things that I design are based on small antiques, which I am crazy about. So I wanted to show you that. But first of all, let's talk about Emily. Now, this is the booklet. I just put it up on my website, Gentle Pursuit Designs, in booklet and in PDF formats. I was waiting until I got the booklets to advertise to shops, but I will advertise it to those that usually buy my pieces. But it's my usual booklet format, and on the back I've put DMC and the Aversois silks, and I put a picture of the back of the sampler on there. She was so neat, and I took the colors from the back. They're very vibrant. And I've told Emily's story. I did a lot of research on this sampler. And you know, just as in our lives, sometimes things are not perfect. We all have a lot of challenges in our lives. So did Emily. I won't tell you her whole story, but I can tell you that she was 12 years old when she created this sampler, and she was living in Bath, England. Now, for those of you who have taken my Scottish sampler classes and lectures, you'll probably think like I did when I first saw the sampler, oh, this has got to be Scottish, because look, you see these little trees? These fir trees are the most common motif I see in Scottish samplers. And this red deer and this motif, whatever it is, I'm still trying to find out what this symbolizes in Scotland. These are on so many of my Scottish samplers. I was sure that Emily must be Scottish, but she's not. I was able to find out so much about her. Andrew Mason jumped in and helped me with some research too, and then I found more and more. So I have put Emily's life story in this booklet. The sampler only used cross stitch over 2 and then a little bit of cross stitch over 1 in a Christmas verse. So this is still July, it's July 30th, and I'm declaring this a Christmas in July piece. So I'll show it to you in a second, but I want to commend Monica McCalla of Columbus, Georgia, who stitched the model for me and did such a beautiful, beautiful job. But in the booklet, again, it's cross stitch over 2, except for Emily's name and her Christmas verse. And then I've found lots of information about Emily and her parents. Her father was a bootmaker. I found a lot about her family. I've put a picture of her husband's aunt's house in there. She used it as a boarding house. And I've told a lot of stories about Emily and her husband and their extended family and their 5 daughters in here. So I hope you'll enjoy it. Now the charts, you know, are big, and anyway, I hope that you'll like the sampler. Let me show it to you. So let's see what to show first. First, let's look at the antique. Charlie is under the table, so hopefully he'll be calm. He's not licking my toes yet. Okay, so this is the antique sampler. I apologize for the glare. You can see she has a Christmas verse right in the middle. A lovely strawberry border, which is the most common border seen on all samplers. And this antique was beautifully framed by Joy Owens. Joy, oh my gosh, she is just an expert with antique samplers. This sampler was stitched right out to the edges. Let me do another close-up so you can see. Joy matched a linen-covered mat, and she's gently tacked the sampler to it, and then beautifully framed it with conservation materials. Isn't that beautiful? So that is the sampler, the antique, and the frame was in really bad shape. And so I unframed it. I usually don't, but the frame was falling apart. So I did, and guess what I found inside? This sampler had a piece of paper behind it. Let me show you. And it has the best shadow sampler I personally have ever seen. And so I framed it, and I have this antique and the shadow sampler hanging together. Look at that. Again, I apologize. It's afternoon, and there's just not a good place in my house. It's either too dark or too light, but this is the shadow sampler. Isn't that beautiful? And Joy framed it for me in a coordinating frame. Okay, so there's the antique. There's the shadow sampler. And here is the sampler model. Just a sec. Oops. Isn't that lovely? Now the model was stitched on 40 count linen. And as I said, it's all cross-stitched except for the On Christmas verse and Emily's name. Isn't that beautiful? I wish I could show it to you without any light on it, but you'll have to come over. There it is, so pretty. And again, I have included all of the research that I found about Emily, and I warn you, I think we all have some tragedy in our lives, and Emily certainly did. But she carried on, and I hope that she found comfort and peace in her life all along the way. You'll have to get the story from the booklet or the PDF, and again, I just put them up on my website. So let's see what to show you next. This is not going to be a very long video. Oh, here we go. Let me move these. So Emily was a dressmaker, and I happen to have this antique box. Let me move these things so I don't smush anything. This box is an antique dressmaker box. Now, Emily stitched this when she was 12 in 1865, and I believe that this dressmaker box I'm about to show you is from the 1870 time period. So and it came from New York. So let me do this. Here's the top. It's hard to show things like this. Let me turn it around. I'm not scratching up my old dining room table here. This is the inside. And you see she's put, she's pasted paper. I don't know if that's wallpaper. Could be. She's cut out little hearts. And then let me lift up this tray inside the box. Oops, the whole thing's gonna dump over. Is this tray. Isn't that wonderful? And it has compartments, oops, that you can open up. And she has decorated this. So it's wood. I'm going to shut the box just so it doesn't fall over. It's trying to open. And, oops, it has an inner tray, there you go, with a pin cushion. And whoever owned this, it was well used, and it came to me as a dressmaker's sewing box. So there are lots of little compartments to put things in. And then the bottom part is open, like that. So there it is, a dressmaker's toolbox. My granddaughter Brooke got this for me. It was on top of a very tall bookcase. And my grandchildren are tall. Brooke is 12 years old and she's 5'7". Anyway, I thought you might like to see this. So there it is. Set that over there. Now, Sherry Jones, who I have admired forever, is just absolutely gifted. I'm sure many of you have taken classes from Sherry. Well, when I taught at the Attic in January of 2022, she told me that she has stitched almost all of my designs and she brought them. I was so thrilled. And so she really wanted to take a class of my Victorian sewing shoe, and the class there had to be canceled. There was some problem with the Sampler Guild, but anyway, she went ahead. I had made up kits, and she and Tori wanted the kits, so I sent them to them because they really, are so experienced with putting smalls together. I thought they could do it without me, and we communicated by email. But anyway, so I posted her picture. She just has finished the sewing shoe, and let me show you that. So this is the little sewing shoe. Oops, let me hold it up. It was such fun to do. Lots of pretty stitches. Now the heel opens and you could put a little something in there like a thimble. And I have antique shoe buttons that I have for this class, and this is the fun part. Watch this. I'll show you this one and then I'll show you the antique. So you see this pretty bow. The bow pulls out and there's a hole in the top of the shoe. And I did an inverted nun stitch, so you can cut that out. And when you open the sole, look, it has a little needle book in there. So that's the antique, not the antique, the design that I adapted from this. Now this, oh, let me show you the other pieces for that class. I love butterflies. I was out yesterday evening and I had 2 black swallowtails and 5 yellow swallowtails in my flowers. So I made this little scissors case using some fun stitches and butterflies. So that's in the class. And then, so we could practice the inverted nun stitch, I made this little pin keep. Isn't that fun? So we do the inverted nun stitch in class and cut it out so that they'll know exactly how to make it work for this. It's just the same. Isn't that pretty? Look at those sweet stitches. And then the shoe is a series of running stitches, and I have some little sparkle here and there on all of that, so that's fun. So that's the class project, and this is the antique. I actually saw this in an antique shop many years ago, and I could not believe it because I don't have good luck on antiques. I find most of my antiques at auctions or online from sellers that I'm confident with. But look at this. Is that precious? So again, there's the bow. Now this one has a thimble in the back. But look, watch this. So you take out the bow, and this is a little emery, and then there's a hole. Couldn't make mine round, so I did mine square. And then it opens, and there's a needle book inside, and then the heel opens, so you could tuck a thimble in there. You see? And this is red silk, and I was told that the antique shop found this in New York State. But isn't that lovely? Red silk. And then here's my adaptation. Okay. So what else do I have to show you? Oh, I'll show you two needle books, and then I'll talk about Julia Brennan and the wonderful job she did with the 10 Commandments sampler that's behind me. I am such a lucky girl. I have 7 10 Commandments samplers. I think next year I'm going to reproduce one of them. Okay, so I mentioned that I love butterflies and I love smalls. So when this came up and flashed up to me a few weeks ago, I could not help but bid on it. And look at this. It says it's hand painted. It looks like it's stuffed and then appliqued, a butterfly, and this is painted. And then inside, I wish that I could do stitches this neat. Look at that. Beautiful edging on the needle pages. Isn't that sweet? So that's a little appliqued butterfly needle book. And then this one caught my eye a few weeks before that. Is this beautiful? Now this one has a hand-painted seashell on the back. See? And then when you untie the bow, you do that carefully here. Without tearing it up, which is always a risk. So I've untied the bow, and then you open this, and this comes down, and then the sides open up. So there's a little needle book, a needle book inside, and it comes down, and this opens up. I don't want to break it. Let me lay it down and open it. And that's where she had tucked her threads inside. So isn't that smart? So it's like a little thread holding envelope inside and a needle book on top. And then the whole piece closes. Oops, the needle just fell out. So the sides close like this. Oops. And then this closes and it ties. Isn't that charming? With a little hand-painted seashell on the back. Ah, I do love the little things. So, I keep getting questions about cleaning and conservation of antique samplers. And I'll tell you the truth, when I look at a sampler and it needs cleaning, I think, oh gosh, because cleaning is very expensive. It's so worthwhile. And I'll give you a hint. I use Julia M. Brennan, Caring for Textiles. A friend of mine who works for the Museum of Early Southern Decorative Arts told me that Mazda uses Julia Brennan for all of their samplers. And so I sent her the first one, gosh, has it been maybe 3 years ago? And they did such a wonderful job. So what you do first, I send a picture and I tell them a little bit about the sampler. And then, you know, they respond and tell me, you know, that they would be glad to take a look at it. And I send it to them, and then they give me an estimate, because they have to really see it in person to evaluate what process they'll use for it. So with this one that I'll show you in a second, they say that the condition was good, stable, intact colors, vibrant with very little fading, some holes and damage to the wool ground, and then they say where they are, hard creases along the edges of this wool sampler, and I mean, it was terribly creased along all 4 sides. And they were damaged. The linen edging was puckered, and it was full of tack holes. It was soiled, darkened, and surface grime. And if it hadn't been a 10 Commandment sampler, I probably would have passed on by. But, you know, I do really have a special appreciation for 10 Commandment samplers. So I bought it. And here's what they did for their treatment. They tested the dyes and embroidery threads for dye stability. The dyes were not stable, especially the dark green, and the sampler could not be safely wet cleaned. So they cleaned the front and back of sampler utilizing soft sponges, and they sent a picture of the soft sponges, which were absolutely filthy. They used cotton patch supports to stabilize the holes throughout the sampler, and they hand-stitched them in place using monofilament polyester thread. They hand-stitched around the edges of all of the holes to provide further stabilization. They did 10 of these patch supports, primarily at the corners and edges of the sampler. And then they made an archival mount using acid-free board, polyfelt, and cotton muslin, and they aligned the sampler and hand-stitched it to mount it. So now all I will need to do is have it framed. So let me show it to you. Excuse me, Charlie. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but here it is. And all of the edges where the holes were, there were terrible hard creases all along the sampler, and it was truly filthy. I hope you can see it. And some of the places where the patches are, see right there? That's one of the places where there was a hole, and just down below that in the corner. So they patched the holes from the back and then sewed around the holes as well. And this is what the back looks like. So it's all fully mounted. And it's ready to be framed. Isn't it beautiful? I was so surprised. So this is Sarah Ann Boyd, finished in the 10th year of her age in 1833. And based on the symmetry of the design, I believe this is an English sampler. Okay, so I think that's everything I had to tell you. I hope you will really like my Emily Tufton sampler. You have, what, almost 5 months till Christmas, so you could whip it up. It's just cross stitch, but it is a charming sampler, and the colors of the antique are still so vibrant. I did use the colors from the back side, and I've put a picture of the back and of the front of the antique sampler, but it's really a lovely sampler. And it's so rare to find one with a Christmas verse. So I am going to have a little knee surgery on August 3rd. So if you want the sampler, I'll try to get this uploaded to YouTube, which is always a challenge for me for some reason. I'll try to do that in a little while. But if you want to go ahead and order it, I'll be able to mail it on August 1st or 2nd, but then it might be a week or so before I'm zipping around to the post office. So I hope you're having a good summer and that you are getting some stitching done. I am working madly on the project that I'll be teaching in England, but I'm so excited about that and about the trip. So I need to get my knee fixed. I'll be hiking around Scotland and England, so I need to get that sorted out. But thank you for visiting with me today. And I think, I don't even know, it's been at least 6 months since I did one of these YouTubes, but I'll do better. I have a wonderful class project. It's a Quaker sewing case with some smalls based on antiques in my collection. That's coming right along. I just need time to put it together, but I did a design for Just Cross Stitch magazine for is it their next June issue, and Faye Rigsby put it together for me, and it is absolutely charming. I can finish, but Faye does it so much better. So I've been busy doing this and that, and of course my Christina McClellan sampler will be released while I'm in England, and I'll be telling her story. So she'll be available in the States in early October. So I'll do another video, hopefully, when I have those teaching pieces finished. And I just wish you happy stitching and hope all is well with you. Stay safe in this crazy weather, and I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.